Hi, everybody. Robin here at Toadstool Tarot, just looking out the window. Happy Saturday. It was sunny for a while. Early this morning it was rainy, and now it looks gray again. I don't know what's going on. I have plans later this evening. I may get into that in a little bit. Hello and welcome to Nothing So Strange. Red Wing, Elsbeth, and M.A. the Gray, the first four people in the room. I'm in a blank. We are at shelf number 9, week number 9 in my Clearout, which is astounding to me that I've done 8 weeks of shelf by shelf spring cleaning in the fall and trying to whittle down my collection to only the decks that I reach for or use, or if I'm not currently reaching for them, will reach for eventually. And that's a tough decision to make when you go through to try and second guess, am I going to wish later that I'd held on to this or not? You might have experienced this with your own deck clear-outs or considerations. Hello, Antoinette, Madame Maru, Alexandria. I think that's all the people that just came in. So anyway, this is the last shelf, sort of. I have wall units of shelves that I went through, one by one. And then after that, I have this rolling cart here with 3 shelves on it. And so I'm down to the point of this is the last shelf on the rolling cart, which is shelf number 9. That doesn't mean that's the end of my decks. I have more decks, but actually the rest, I'm streaming from my bed. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. I've got a little table here or support with my laptop on it. That's what I'm doing. But behind me there, you won't see probably, there are piles and stacks and trays of decks. So it's just kind of like this small mountain here that as of next time, I'm going to have to kind of pull from and decide what might constitute shelf number 10 as I go through. Generally speaking, it's about 20 decks, but the one today, shelf number 9, was not that crowded, and it looks to me like maybe 12 or 13 decks, so it should go a little bit faster. Let's see who else is here. Chris came in. Hello, Elemental Cardamom C. That's it. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. No, I'm going to go from the other direction. This is an odd one. This one, it's The Ship of Fools Tarot by Brian Williams. Have you ever heard of this? First drawback is I don't like these clunky big boxes. And this is a pretty old deck, I think. Well, maybe not majorly old, but let me see. It's by somebody. The print is so small I can't tell who the publisher is. It's got a rather large, substantial book inside. And a deck of cards. The cards are kind of an unusual shape. I think they're they're only slightly shorter than standard size, but they're wider. So it's kind of like a almost like an oracle deck. See, a little bit shorter, a little bit wider. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. I haven't reached for it in a while, and I think the reason I haven't reached for it is because it's in a clunky box on the bottom shelf that has stuff in front of it, kind of hiding it. Hey, Rolf, and hello, Sandra. I don't let's see. Based upon the German Renaissance literary classic, the Narrenschiff, or the Ship of Fools. I don't know. Anyway, the cards are a little bit warped. That's not really an issue to me. Usually you can kind of bend them back. Not real keen on the back design, but it's okay. It's all right. This is a black and white deck, or I should say a black and gray deck. Or is it sepia? I don't know. It's line work, and the line work is rather detailed. And for me, that's a little bit off-putting. I know some people like to just sort of like sit and stare into their cards for minutes and hours on end. If I'm doing a reading, I think I tend to like images where I can get a quick reading, but then if I linger on it, I can go deeper. This one I just find like a little bit off-putting, like it's almost too much information. I think for me, maybe if this had color assigned to it, even if it's sort of like minimal spot color, it might make it seem a little bit less busy. But yeah, I don't know. I think, I've done without this deck for a couple of years, and so even though some of the images are intriguing, I think I'm a little bit put off by just the black and white line artwork and how detailed the images are, and they don't strike me as instantly relatable as like an RWS clone or something that I could use really easily. That's a weird spelling for it's devil. The font's weird. I misread the V there. Interesting. Very much kind of like a little bit like the sort of like Hieronymus Bosch, and a little like the Dürer tarot or something. I don't know. I think maybe I could get into this if I was exposed to it more, but I think since I haven't really drawn it out or used it in a couple of years, I don't think I'm likely to be enticed back by it. So I think I'm going to let this one go. So right off the bat, we've got one for the to-go bag or box. Secondly, I have two versions of this deck. The Navigator's Tarot of the Mystic Sea. Do you know this? Now, I got one initially, and it had like strange sort of framing and keywords on the cards, which initially put me off. So I was in my mod era, where I decided, I'm going to modify it. I'll trim off the borders. But this is one of those decks, kind of like my Thoth deck that I originally did that to, where once I took the borders off, I had trouble remembering which card was which archetype. Some of the ones with pips are a little bit easier, but the others aren't so much. they're really interesting. There's a cover. This is the cover of a Taschen book on the tarot. They used this example from this deck. And they're interesting, sort of surreal images. There's a lot of color. There's a lot going on. They're interesting. I don't reach for them. This reminds me of the Silver Surfer comic books. But anyway, after I'd done the trimming, I thought, oh, this is a problem for me. And I found another copy online. I thought, well, let me get that and not trim it, so I have one intact. And so I went and bought another one. So this one is intact. The thing about this one, though, is whereas the first one just has a kind of a sheen finish to it, this one's super glossy. I don't quite know why. It must be a different edition. But it did leave the borders on, so we've got a keyword, and then we've got the identifier and the copyright. So not sure about this. I think it's one of those things where if I get rid of it, I should get rid of it altogether, get rid of both of them. Sometimes if it's a deck and a backup, I'll just get rid of the backup. But because this one's kind of trimmed, I don't know that anybody's going to want the trimmed version without explanation, unless they already know the deck and are familiar enough with the cards to be able to use it. So yeah, I'm just not sure about this, but I think for now, I might hold on to these a little bit longer. Does anybody else have this deck? Navigator's Tarot, the Mystic Sea. The images are really unusual, and I think I first saw it on, is it Sacred Seed? Elle had a channel. She disappeared. I think her channel was Sacred Seed. Let me scroll back a little bit. Oh, some other people popped in. Hello to Moomin Tarot and Will's Tarot Path. Hello, Will. Been a couple weeks, I think. What's Chris asking Sandra about? Have you done a bit of video on it? I'm not sure what it is. I can't scroll back far enough to find it. Sacred Seed, that's right. Really enjoy her content. I wish she was still around. She did great content. But I actually got it because I was intrigued. I was collecting musical instruments, and there was an image on one of the cards that is this ancient instrument used by the Egyptians. I think it was the first card I showed you, and then I went right by it without talking about it, if I can find it again. Yeah. I think this is can't remember now if this is the Empress or the High Priestess, but she's holding in her hand something called a sistrum. Actually, you hold it. Where is it? This way. You hold it up and shake it back and forth. It's sort of a rattle. And I have a few of these in my collection of musical instruments, but I hadn't seen it on a card, and it kind of intrigued me, that image, this green-skinned woman wearing a wimple and rattling a sistrum. So just on that image alone, I bought the deck. Oh, Sandra's decluttering. Now I'm having trouble getting the cards back in the box, and I shouldn't because they're smaller being trimmed. Okay, we'll move on. Next one. Oh my God, I'm going to get flack for this, I think. Wait a minute. I'm going to hold off on that one. I'm going to do this one next. This was a gift from a friend. It was the Spirit of Halloween, did like tarot decks, sort of for their shop or something. And it's just called Spirit of Halloween or whatever, tarot cards. It's in a pretty decent 2-part sturdy box. The cards are glossy. The backs, it's got some weird symbols on them. I think these are by Samira May. I can't remember the name of the decks that she did, but her imagery is very familiar. It has a very particular style that I'm not sure I'm keen on. Very, I want to say it's a little on the crude side, although people could accuse my deck of being that way too. Maybe crude's the wrong word. Maybe it's more little less academic, a little more stylized personally. I don't know. A little bit cartoony. The colors are kind of rich. I don't know. This one, I think, well, they have the archetypes, but then they have sort of a mythological creature or whatever that is described as the figure on the card. Like for Temperance, we have sea nymph. So I don't know if you're into that kind of thing. That could be fun, I guess. I don't think it's really my style so much. And I don't really reach for it. And I don't usually like to get rid of decks that were gifts, but I'm being a little bit more harsh about this. And seeing as how I don't ever reach for this or use it, I think I'm going to let this go. I'll trade this for more shelf space. And I think for me, that's a good trade. It will be replaced by a deck, hopefully, that I use more. Okay, so that one can go. Next, what is this? This one's in a bag. Problem with putting stuff in bags and pouches is if you can't remember what's in which pouch. I'm sure this is some sort of a holiday or Christmas themed deck that's in here, but I don't know what it is. Oh, okay. I know what it is. This is my winter weight. And I don't generally use sort of theme decks according to holidays or times of year or whatever. I mean, autumn decks and like Halloween decks and Christmas decks, what happens when I have those is I'll pull them out and do 1, maybe 2 readings with them and then put them away until the next year. I'm just not sure it's worth it to have a deck that I'm only going to drag out, for that little use. Latvians have a similar instrument. It's got 3 circles with a stick through the middle and that thin metal pieces like the cymbals dangling around the edges of the circles. Astrological cartoon type. Hermit looked like a Yeti. Madame Maru likes it. You can re-gift. It's nearly my birthday. I don't know. Oh, somebody's asking for readings. Dishy. I'm sorry. I'm not doing readings. I'm doing a tarot deck clear out. I'm getting rid of some of my decks. I'm sharing them with people to get impressions on pluses and minuses about the decks, whether I should keep them or let them go. And I pretty much know what I want to do by reasoning it out, but I'm interested to hear other people's experiences with it, whether they have these decks and what reasons they would keep it or why they would let it go, that kind of thing. I think I have some posters from this deck, the Star and the Moon, but those are the only cards from it I have. Okay. Thank you, people, for letting Dishi know. There are hundreds of tarot channels that do readings, and I very rarely do. Generally speaking, I don't. So you might want to just Google those or search for those and go there. You'll get better results than hanging out here with me. Sorry. So the winter weight, I'm not real big on red and green together in a palette in general. And this is, this is obviously a sort of a modified RWS. I think one of the issues I had with this one was at the Chariot. Yes, I don't like this card. It's one thing to modify Pixie's art, but then to just like throw a monkey wrench into it by putting elves on a sled, it just doesn't work the same way for me. This one's not so bad. I mean, they replaced the lion in the strength card with a deer or elk or something. That works, but this one does not. I mean, yes, literally it can be read as chariot, but it just doesn't seem to go with the rest of the using Pixie's imagery. And that kind of bugs the crap out of me. Now, what is that? Oh, here's another one, I guess. Was this the 3 of Pentacles, probably? Yeah, so I think those 2 cards are really problematic for me in this deck. And here we've got Krampus as the devil. That's okay. I think, ooh, yeah, here's another one. Happy Holidays, a wreath for the world. Yeah, I think I'm going to let this go. I might regret it, but I think I'm going to let it go. And I don't think I have the original box anymore. So it'll go in this snowflake pouch. Yeah. I'll probably be looking for it next year. That's sort of like, oh, where is my winter weight? But yeah, I won't miss it for very long. I might miss it for a couple of days and then I'll be on to the next season. So I'm letting that one go. Now this brings us to another thing. This is the Groovy Weight by the same creators. And I need to have a look at this one to see how I feel. I have so many Rider-Waite clones that I don't need to keep them all. I'm going to get rid of some. Maru says I could turn them into Christmas cards. It's a shame because some of them are nice. Love the Hermit. It's hard to do an art piece with dominant red green. It always looks like a department store Christmas display. At least my stuff does. A bit jarring, but cute. It's good for someone with boxes and boxes of holiday decorations. You could put it away with those. Yeah, maybe. You could love groovy weight. Do I have the zombie weight? No, I don't. I like the backs of these better than the other one. I can't remember. There were two psychedelic ones. There was the groovy weight, and somebody will tell me what the other one was. The other one had an awkward spiral I didn't like. I actually love the backs of these. But they are a little bit kind of too glossy for me. And sometimes I don't mind gloss, and sometimes I do. And I don't know. It's modern, but modern in the sense of sort of trying to be retro. I mean, it's a contemporary deck where they tried to recapture the 60s and 70s. I don't know if they did it. I'd almost rather have a vintage deck from the 60s and 70s than trying to recontextualize or revisualize that era. I think I was going to keep this, but as I'm looking at it, I don't think I need it. And again, it's not one I reach for or use. Now, is that because of the deck itself or because of where it's housed in my apartment? It's just not readily accessible. Yeah, I'm going to let this one go too. I hadn't planned on it. I'd sort of planned on keeping this one, but I think I'm going to be a little bit more strict, a little more mercenary about letting decks go. All right, on to the next one. Oh, I've only kept two so far out of the ones I've shown. This one was one that I bought to support a friend, a former Tarot Channel host who has been on and off the air a few times. I don't know if y'all remember Tangi, and I don't know whether she'll be back or not. She did a number of creative projects and was one of the first people I knew that experimented with AI. And she created her own sets of decks that she said were personalized for each person, which kind of puzzled me. How can you do that? How could you do it and then make them so quick and then ship them out? I'm not sure what her process was, but I think it was really, it's an Oracle deck. And I think it was really early on in her sort of experimentation or play with AI programs. And now different people have different ideas about AI, and I'm going to show you something. I think AI is getting better and better. My partner is in a band that's playing this evening, and it's in Manhattan, and there aren't many clubs in Manhattan anymore. Most of them are out in Brooklyn these days. He's in a band from the 70s called The Scene Is Now. And a friend of mine from one of my creative writing groups had been talking about playing around with AI programs for graphics, not for writing. And she had done a portrait of a friend of hers in the style of like Leonardo da Vinci paintings. So it's like a portrait of her friend if he had lived during the Renaissance or whatever. And it turned out kind of interesting. Anyway, I started playing around with it. And I thought, let me plop in some words, some descriptions, see if I can get what I want in terms of describing my friend's band. The Scene Is Now. And what I really wanted was a kind of a vintage image that was sort of like somebody using some visual assist to see something. to see what the scene is. So I think I said something like an image in a square format of a vintage looking man who has a shocked expression on his face, inspecting something through binoculars, or something really convoluted like that. And this is the image it came up with, and I love it. Really, really good. I think the programs are getting better. Now, I lucked out on the first try with my description, and I took the image and I took it to Vistaprint, another place online, and then had them make the shirts, and they're pretty cheap. I mean, this is like a $14 shirt plus shipping, and it's a very quick turnaround too. I think I got it in like a week or a week and a half, something like that. But anyway, I'm gonna wear it like as a fan of the show tonight, and I'm curious to see what reaction I get to the band, by the band and by other fans, to The Scene Is Now. So I just wanted to show you how that came out. But anyway, I think the programs are getting a little bit better. And when they started off, they were a little bit weird. And of course, a lot of it has to do with how much description you put in words, or how specific you were. I actually tried 6 other ideas similar to that guy, and they were all horrible. So I got it cool on the first try, and then the others were failures. So it's like, it's kind of a hit or miss thing. But Tangi did these Tangi cards, and they're sort of, they're an oracle without words or keywords or images. And she did a few of these, I think, and then kind of like randomly combined them. And it's a real oddball collection of things. And I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first, other than I wanted to support her. But I just kind of wasn't really clear about how AI programs worked, and whether I thought they were a good thing or a bad thing, or a too random thing that one really didn't have that much input or control over. And I know this is still a controversial issue. There are a number of reasons why people may or may not like AI decks, aside from copyright issues and using other people's art and stuff. I don't approve of any of that. But sometimes the images are like not very good, particularly with little details like how many fingers are on the hand, or which direction a hand is facing, things like that. But I have bought maybe 4 or 5 decks that were AI decks, and 1 or 2 of them I like very much. And the quality and the amount of work put into them was more than just, you know, a random phrase here and there. And then the others seemed a little bit less involved in terms of the creator and what they were trying to do. So I mean, these are like weird images, but it just feels a little bit too random to me. I have no idea the process involved in how she came up with these images. It's really bizarre. At one point, I think I was better about just being able to read random images and oracles. Not so good lately. And I did, you know, pay her. I bought this, I ordered it, I gave her that support, and I don't think I need to keep this anymore. So I'm going to let these Tangi cards go. I think also there wasn't any consistency here. I do like consistency in a deck. And this seems like, even the card backs, there were several back designs to the deck. It just was a little bit too much of a seemingly random hodgepodge for my personal sensibility. Nothing wrong with it, just wasn't my thing. So that one's going. Oh, let me just see what you guys are talking about here. Trip and Wait is the other one. Tripping Wait, Groovy Wait. I think, which one did I just, whatever I just said, that was the other one. Love the hippie vibe. Pentacles and the Ace is weird. So cool. Very tangy. Yeah, it is very tangy. Whose artwork has been scraped to create the AI image? So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some. I suspect that some people's images in some programs or in some occasions further back before it went into litigation were stolen or taken. And then others, they may have hired a bank of or group of artists to, you know, submit artwork. They may have hired artists just to create artwork that they can use to artificially manipulate. I don't know what state things are at these days. It just seems like it's kind of it is evolving, and I think that, you know, as tarot readers, we need to evolve with it. You can go on so long rejecting it out of hand, or you can give it consideration. I'm kind of looking at the images as not placing a value judgment on the creator of the creation of it, but as to whether it's an image I can interpret or use. Does the image work for me? Just like you look at the sky and you look at the clouds, and the clouds you remind you of certain shapes, and then you can read from that. You know, does that work for you or not? Maybe that method doesn't work. It's called pareidolia, actually, where you see things that aren't really there, like, you know, oil spills in a puddle, or knots on trees or wood shelves, or plaster splatters on walls, and all kinds of things like that. It's fascinating how synchronous things can be when we look at little things in the world around us and try to read from things that aren't meant to be read that way, but it's just the way our minds tend to want to interpret things. Reminded Maru of Dali. All right, next. This one, I know this is another Christmas thing. This is 2 packs of, I've showed before, this playing card company on Amazon called Flans. I think they're from somewhere in Europe, but I'm not sure where. This one, I got 2 Christmas-themed playing card decks. One of them is just snowy winter scenes, landscapes that I like. And the other one are, like, I think these are from Finland, possibly, these gnomes. So let me show you these. It's funny, actually, when I talk about holiday themed things, these are ones I think I probably will keep. So here's the back of the playing card design. And here are some of the little gnomes or elves. And I kind of like this just as a sort of an art deck, you know? I mean, I can read with playing cards, but I just sort of like some of the art images. I actually do have, I think I decided to keep a couple of Krampus playing card decks. And just for the nostalgia sake and art card value of it, I decided to hold on to those. I think I'm going to do the same with these. They're just kind of cheap little set of playing cards, but sort of fun, vintagey, elf gnome kind of images. So that's one of the decks. And since 2 of them will fit into one pouch, it sort of takes up the space on the shelf of one deck. This other one, this is kind of like sort of looking at, oh, here's the backs. Can't see very well what the pattern here is. This is just kind of looking at like Hallmark cards or old vintage Christmas cards with images or paintings of various snow scenes. I love winter, and I love winter snow scenes, and I love the coziness of just being indoors or being with a hot mug of something, sitting by a window and watching the snow come down, or, you know, watching beautiful sunset with snow. I just like sort of winter images. And these were cheap decks. I think they were like under $10 each on Amazon. They did take a little while to arrive because I think they came from Europe. So they don't say what the names of the decks are on here, but if you go to Amazon and you go to Flan's playing cards, I think it gives you a whole variety of different decks that they publish, and you can pick and choose what appeals to you. I had one that I gave away that was like cartoony images from the 40s of cats, little kittens dressed up in children's clothing and playing on the playground and getting into mischief and stuff. It kind of wasn't my thing because I'm not really a cat person, but I gifted it to somebody who likes cats, so that was good. I mean, anyway, I'm going to hang on to these. I might want to leaf through them during the holidays. Our brains are programmed to see faces, aren't they? I see shapes in the wooden doors of my house, says Chris. They are, says Rolf. They're from Sweden. Don't remember the artist, says Rolf. Okay. Or maybe they're imprinted faces of spirits guarding your home, Chris. You never know, says Tarot Ignited. Hello, welcome. What's next? Where are we? 143. Oh my gosh. I'm taking my good old time with this. Okay, here's another one. This was another one that was sort of a gift. The Lost Tarot of Nostradamus. Another one in a big box. At least this box isn't flimsy. It's got also a pretty hefty guidebook in it. This is one I never use. Again, never reach for. Not keen on the backs. The cardstock's stiff and weird. It's not my. Some people like stiffer cardstock. It's kind of not my thing. The images are intriguing. The Hermit. Okay, they do have labels on them. I do tend to like sort of medieval looking stuff, or stuff that has a kind of a mystique from, you know, dark times, like mystery symbolism that are things that aren't readily understood. Let's see, what is this? This is the Four of something. Four of Sons. I don't know. I don't like it when they change the elements. Four of Sons. So I'd have to look at the book to see, does that mean fire? Does it mean wands? Or because they're round, does it mean pentacles? I have no idea. What is this one? Oh, that looks like moons. It must be suns and moons. Initiate 12. I don't know. I'm tempted to let this go, but I'm also curious enough about the images, even though I haven't reached for it, This is one I might want to kind of drag out and look at a little bit deeper. Now, I don't like it when they reassign the different elements or different suits. So that may eventually put me off, but I'm intrigued enough by some of these images to actually want to sit down and study it a little bit more. So I think I'll hold on to this. Chris has this, another odd one. Do you ever use it, Chris? Or did you ever figure out how to use it? You're much sharper at figuring these things out generally, I think, than I am. All right, so that one I'm gonna hang on to. Don't ask why. Now, all right, we're gonna jump to this. This is the Intuity Creative Cards. This was done by a European design company to like help their business team or whatever think creatively outside the box or something. I can't remember what the deal was. There are the right number of cards in here to be able to use as a tarot with majors and minors. And it is a bright pop colored deck, but you have to kind of get used to remembering which shapes mean which suit. I think like the triangles are one. I mean, this is obviously cups because they're like bowl shaped or cup shaped. Can't remember what the triangles are. Does this one? Oh, and they don't have the names, just numbers. So let's see. If this is 16, is that the tower? Yeah, there's lightning striking there. It must be the tower. It's pretty abstract. It's pretty modern art kind of thing. Again, I think it was something that when I got it, I just wanted something abstract and pop and colorful and different, modern, and I just ended up not really using it. So I think I'm going to let this one go. Again, I want to remind you all that are watching that I do have more in-depth walkthroughs and explanations of all these decks on my channel. So if any of them intrigue you, you can go and look there. And also, when I'm done with this whole series, I'm going to go back and just flash through what I have to see if anybody's interested in any of them. I don't know if I'll do it like a silent auction or what I'm going to do, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to dispose of the decks that I'm getting rid of. I'm just trying to decide now what to keep and what to let go. I'm experiencing synchronicity. I'm just edging the same Nostradamus tarot. Interesting. Alexandria Wallace. Did I say hello to Tarot Ignited? Chris, no, Robin, I've never read with it. The suits fry my brain. Yeah. Okay, next, we're getting into Patrick Valenza. I have Mildred Payne's Oracle of Black Enchantment. This, for me, I don't read as an oracle. It's more of like a comic book art deck or something. The cards are like way oversized. His artwork is always fascinating. I think, there's a couple as an extra, at least one extra card in here. And these, I think most, if not all, are like horizontal images, which is its own set of problems for me in terms of reading with cards. But I do love the images. This is one actually that is fun to drag out in around Halloween, or Samhain if you call it that. I like the sort of antique-y, vintagey quality of this just being black ink on kind of a parchment paper or butcher paper background color. That's a great image. These are slippery, falling on the floor. Ugh. At some point, I might need to get a little bit more critical about my keeping or collecting Valenza decks, but for now, I'm going to hold on to this. I think it might be out of print now, too. Not that I collect things for value. And if I let go of something that's rare or out of print, I don't mind so much letting it go to somebody who is a collector who's really been wanting it for a long time. But it bugs the crap out of me if it's just somebody collecting to jack the price up and resell it. You know, that just doesn't feel right somehow. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I mean, if I let these go, I'll let them go at a fair price. And, but I will hope that people don't then turn around and jack them up and resell them. But anyway, I'm hanging on to that. Oh, I never ordered the Deviant Moon, but when he said that he was going to release the Paradoxical edition and limit it to 500, was it 500 or 50? Must have been 500, and not ever reprint it, which as far as I know, he hasn't done. I decided I had to have it. So I have the Paradoxical edition. I don't have the original one. And I really liked the coloring of this initially. Didn't really use it so much. I think this is one where if this had been, you know, reprinted a lot, I'd probably let it go. Yeah, I don't really use this or read with it. I think I drag it out from time to time when other people are showing things from the Deviant Moon or from his world that relate in conversation to some of these images. Then I drag them out to look at or compare or make personal notes about archetypes or whatever. So I'll hang on to this. I think one of my fellow channel hosts in Europe wanted this, but I think at the time I decided I had to charge what I paid for it, which was like 85 or something. And that was a little too steep. Plus, it would have been a lot more with shipping to Europe. What else? Oh, the carte de visite. The carte de visite. Carte de visite. Visiting cards. This, I think, is out of print. And this I actually bought and gifted to a friend who collects horror memorabilia and weird stuff. And I thought, oh, he'll really like this because it's a lot of weird imagery. And he kept it for a while, and then he didn't really do much with it and ended up saying, here, I think you should have this back. I'm not really doing anything with it. What am I doing here? There seem to be some stray extra cards in here, like from other decks. surreal images. Again, more than one orientation. This could go in your cabinet of curiosities, but I don't know. I don't know that I need to keep this. Maybe what I'll do is I'll hang on to these, and at the point when I decide to get rid of any of my Patrick Valenza, maybe I will do a lot and sell all the Valenza decks together. That might be worth doing something with. $156. I need to speed up the process here. So yeah, that's staying for now. For now, but probably eventually going to go. Next, we have his Abandoned Oracle, which was one of the first decks that he did that I really loved. I thought, oh, I can work with this, and then promptly proceeded not to. I think I did a couple of different readings and then no more. Some of you probably have this. I keep all his decks together, so I will probably hang on to this. And sort of a more contemporary kind of variation on this oracle is the Zammer Twins Oracle, which I think might have been last year that this came out that I got. This one's interesting. I like the card format. They're narrower and taller than most decks generally are. And I like the kind of medieval quality of some of the imagery. But as an oracle, some of the images kind of made sense and worked for me, and some of them didn't. It's a little bit of a mixed bag of 7 deadly sins and different occupations and astrological and metaphysical things and mythological creatures. It's really kind of an odd grab bag. I love this image. This guy hiding in the grotto. Next I'm keeping that. So next I have Vincent Petiti's Tarot de Marseille, which if you like Tarot de Marseille, this is a really pretty one. But I have so many Tarot de Marseille, and I have favorite ones, and I'm not sure that this is one I necessarily need. I think it's kind of like I put this up against some of the Conrad Stain ones in terms of how I feel about the coloration. And I do like the coloring of this one. But I don't know that I need to keep it, and I don't reach for it. When I do reach for Marseille, there's about 3 different decks that I reach for, and this isn't one of them. So as beautiful as this is, I think I'm going to let it go. try to quickly finish. I have 3 more decks. I know you're all going to want to be racing off to join Simon for the Tarot Spotlight. Hello, Amy Ganshert. Next one is the Le Metamorphosis du Jour with this little guidebook. Awkward sized hefty box with a slip off top, which is nice. The cards are kind of a weird size. They're matte cards. They're the kind of heavy card stock that I'm not keen on, but you know, it is what it is. Not that thrilled about the back design. They're J.J. Granville illustrations. I love him as an illustrator. And this is a deck that I don't use as tarot or don't reach for, but I think merely for his wonderful anthropomorphic illustrations and the artwork alone, I will probably want to hold on to this. Pretty sure it's out of print now. Hard to get the guidebook back in the box. How did I do that? Oh, the guidebook wasn't in the box. That's why I can't get it in there. And the last 2. These are Edward Gorey decks. One of them's the Fantod pack. You don't know this one? Kind of a oracle, kind of a weird story. They're sort of like images. There is a guidebook, kind of images from some of his stories. And these did have sharp corners, which I rounded and makes it easier to use. It's an oracle deck of sorts, but it's, you know, not that many cards in it, 20 some cards, I think. I don't know that it's that usable as an oracle, but if you like his art, this may be worth hanging on to. I'll keep that. Rolf Mattson like his decks. I remember seeing the Zammer twins a lot when it was released, but I always wondered, does anyone really use it? Haven't really seen it since. Need is a 4-letter word. It's true. Hello, Amy. Okay, where are we? Last deck. The Helpless Doorknob, a Shuffled Story by Edward Gorey. This is a little bit snug in the box. I like the idea of this, the concept of this. These are cards that have just almost like random illustrations from one of his stories with a one-liner, and then you can shuffle it and make your own story, which is really kind of what tarot is when you think about it. It's a recombinant book of images and stories that can be shuffled a million different ways. Stories tell a million, what is it? A picture's worth 1,000 words, and a tarot deck's worth 1,000,000 stories or something. Anyway, this is just fun to have, to play around with, make up your own stories, or just to have his artwork in a box. And that completes shelf number 9, where we're in. I'm letting go. It looks like about 6 or 7 decks. So I'm going to let you all go, and thanks for joining me again this week. We'll see how I figure out sorting next week's decks into a potential shelf. And see you all soon. Bye. Thanks.